We have water, food, fresh air, and stunning landscapes thanks to nature. But it also contributes to the development of modern technologies. People create incredible inventions inspired by different animals and plants. Let's find out which ones. The hook and loop fastener on our clothes appeared thanks to the burdock plant. In the distant 40s of the last century, Swiss engineer Georges de Mastrel was walking with his dog and noticed that several burrs clung to his pet's fur. The scientist decided to study the plant carefully and saw small hooks that allowed it to stick to many surfaces. Inspired by their design, George created a fastener for clothes, patented it, and called it Velcro. To make solar panels efficient, a team of scientists from Princeton University paid attention to plants. Their leaves are covered with small folds directed toward the light. This allows plants to receive and absorb much more energy. Researchers created solar panels with similar designs. The result exceeded all expectations. The folds on the surface of the device increased the panel's efficiency by almost 50%. The lotus inspired scientists to create a self-cleaning paint. Beautiful plants floating in the water can effectively repel moisture from the surface of their leaves thanks to a unique coating. Any liquid rolls off the leaf without catching on. At the end of the 20th century, one German construction company used this natural technology to create a unique paint. As soon as it dries, the product gets covered with a texture similar to that of a lotus. Thanks to this, the paint can repel dust, moisture, and dirt. Thanks to their disguise, tigers, toads, chameleons, and many other animals can catch lunch. And some herbivores use it to hide from their enemies. Inspired by these amazing features, people created camouflage. Clothing of this color works because many animals can't distinguish similar color patterns from afar. One of the most effective predators in the world is the dragonfly. It doesn't have big fangs and claws, and it's not covered with a thick layer of armor, but almost all its attempts to catch prey are successful. No animal in the world has the same efficiency in hunting as a dragonfly. And its speed and flight flexibility help it in this. These insects can take almost any position in the air, conduct many flight maneuvers, and change their speed in a fraction of a second. And all this is possible thanks to some of the most efficient wings in the world. A dragonfly can reach the average speed of a car moving along a city road with 3 flaps of its wings. The braking distance of this creature is almost 0. 2 pairs of long, narrow wings in the middle of its body move independently, allowing the dragonfly to catch any target and fly away from any enemy. Scientists and engineers couldn't miss such a design created by nature. One of the leading helicopter manufacturing companies was inspired by the shape of the dragonfly's wings. Look at the blades of most of these flying machines and the wings of this insect. They have almost the same shape. Modern copters partly copy their technology from the flight of a dragonfly. Moreover, this insect's physical form helped NASA engineers create a unique spacecraft for a voyage to Titan in 2027. The mission, called Dragonfly, is an expedition to Neptune's satellite that will be carried out on a multi-rotor device resembling the insect. Titan's atmosphere is 4 times denser than Earth's, so studying this planet requires a device with the dragonfly's high maneuverability and speed. Why did comic book authors get inspired by a spider to create a superhero crawling on walls, but scientists didn't? Because there are animals that can stick to smooth surfaces much more effectively. And one of these animals is a gecko. If you look at its paws under a microscope, you will see that they're covered with hundreds of tiny bristles. And these bristles consist of hundreds of smaller ones. When these tiny hairs come into contact with any smooth surface, their molecules mix with this material. It leads to the creation of an electrical voltage between these molecules. This unique technology allows geckos to stay on the wall or ceiling even if you attach a bag with extra weight to them. In 2014, a team from Stanford University used a similar technology to create sticky gloves and foot tips. A person who used this invention could climb a glass wall. Just imagine if these gloves became popular and were sold all over the world. In fact, it's a good thing that it didn't happen, because people would put themselves in serious danger. In Japan, there are ultra-fast trains that can reach the speed of 275 miles per hour, which is a bit faster than the speed of a Formula One car. Everything was fine with this train except for the fact that it made loud noises when entering and leaving tunnels. People in residential areas complained about the noise, and the train engineers needed to come up with a solution urgently. One little bird with a long beak and colorful plumage solved the problem. This beautiful creature is the kingfisher. It hunts fish and produces almost no splashes when it dives into the water. Its smooth, sharp beak expanding closer to the head provides the kingfisher with a smooth entry into a lake or pond. The shape of the beak of this silent hunter inspired scientists to create the same form for a high-speed train. This design allowed the train to travel 10% faster and consume 15% less electricity. But most importantly, it became much quieter than it was and stopped disturbing the locals with its noise. We travel by plane thanks to birds. A few centuries ago, Leonardo da Vinci, inspired by these animals, drew the first flying device. A few centuries later, birds' anatomy became the rule model for the world's first airplane, invented by the Wright brothers. They had been studying birds in the sky for a long time before going there themselves. They noticed how air increases its lifting force when it flows around the bends of birds' wings. The brothers also saw that these feathered creatures warp their wings to maintain balance in the air. The inventors designed their first aircraft, the Wright Flyer, with wings that could change their position. Over time, the shapes of airplanes became more and more perfect, moving further away from the aerodynamic anatomy of birds. But none of this would have happened if we hadn't looked with admiration at these flying creatures. We can surf the cold waves of the ocean and not freeze, thanks to the new technology of wetsuits inspired by beavers. But first, let's see how a regular wetsuit works. Water fills the thin space between the skin and the suit. Then, this layer heats up because of the heat of the body. Many bubbles of nitrogen inside the suit help to keep this heat. Thanks to this technology, you don't freeze so much in icy water. But beavers use an even cooler method. Their thick fur traps air between thin hairs. Then this air heats up, warmed by the beaver's body, and doesn't allow the water to make the skin wet. In other words, even though the wool of the animal gets wet, the beaver remains dry. Engineers from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology created a wetsuit with a thin layer of small rubber villi. It retains warm air as effectively as beaver wool and doesn't allow swimmers to freeze. By simply swimming in the ocean, the humpback whale increases the energy productivity of wind turbines. When their blades met air or water resistance during rotation, their productivity decreased. But scientists figured out how to reduce this resistance after watching the whales. Engineers noticed that these animals moved underwater following a spiral trajectory and paid attention to their fins. Little bumps called tubercles covered them and helped these animals meet less resistance. People installed similar bumps on the blades of wind turbines, which reduced air resistance by 32% and doubled energy productivity.
That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on the bright side.